Welcome everybody. We got a ClutchPoints exclusive interview here with Ronnie 2K himself. Ronnie, it's a big day. 2K day has arrived.
That's right.
First of all, how you been? You've been pretty busy last week.
Yeah, good. We just had an epic launch event. We've had a ton of news. It's gone all over the place. Like even that thing that happened a few days ago when we dropped J. Cole's cover and then Kanye West of all people got involved. And so, you know, that's really what 2K is striving to do, is continue to push the envelope. I think the J. Cole cover is a really good example of that. Like, it's unexpected, but it totally makes sense in a way too, you know? So that's the kind of thing that as our audience broadens and as we continue to intersect culture and music and everything, fashion, that we really have a role to play in that.
So, I mean, let's just get started on some of the 2K stuff. What are some of the things that we can expect out of 2K this year?
Yeah, there's been a lot of really big announcements and all the big features. So, like, I mean, I don't know where to start. I'd say we could start with, obviously, the Jordan challenges. You know, like, that's the big one. That's so cool. It speaks to so many audiences and people that play the game or Jordan fans. You know, the first time we played Kobe is a new challenge. There are 15 challenges in all. Some of the most iconic and memorable games of all time. And for younger people, it's a good educational device about why he is the GOAT and what statement we were making when we put him on the cover. Obviously, there's a bunch of other things and other features. We have My NBA, where you have the eras with Larry and Magic and Kobe and of course MJ, and the presentation that changes as you play those modes, the different commentary styles. We've got, speaking of commentary, we got a bunch of new commentators, including Richard Jefferson. We got the expanded W. To obviously the women's game is growing so much. It was so exciting to be at Sue Bird's last game a couple weeks ago. So that mode has expanded. The All-Star Commissioner's Cup, more online features. And my team, no more contracts, which was very appreciated.
Big.
Then also, you know, Triple Threat online co-op was a very asked for feature, and almost feels like it's gonna be the way this year. Then career, you know, the storyline and the way it intricates with the city and all the various quests that you got to go on. It's all like working together to like really set the tone that this is the best 2K yet.
Now, I want to break this down because I want to go into some of those specifics a bit later. But I think a lot of things people look at, right, you know, on the face of it is offensive gameplay and defensive gameplay.
Yep.
What's changed on the offensive side of the ball this year?
Well, the big thing that's changed with the offense is like the stamina settings with like the three. You know, you can only make those moves 3 times, and like that way we're not just Curry sliding all the way to across the court. Like, you know, that got a little out of hand and made the game kind of skew guard last year. So I think there's going to be a lot more balance of like being able to play in the post. Which was definitely missing last year. So I'm excited about that. I generally like playing bigs when I play, just because I really am a very good big in the game, whether that's stretch or defensively or whatever. So like I'm excited to you know, get back to that balance. And then defensively, like there was a lot of work that was put into collisions and blocks and the various animations around that. So. All in all, you know, the game plays really smooth. There's been a lot of discussion from our amazing content creators about the various like times they play the game and just how smooth it plays. So it's really exciting to see that kind of enthusiasm up so early. You know. Now,
the NBA's kind of transitioned to more of a three-point centered game over the last couple of years. How has that affected the way 2K is made and played?
Yeah, I mean, like. It's definitely different. I remember the year 2K16 where Steph, we even had the hashtag broke the game, right? Like, obviously all of a sudden you had a guy that was shooting from 35 feet and making it. I actually just read a stat last week that now the points per shot are higher from 35 feet than they are from 2 feet. I mean, that's crazy, you know, like that. And how do you build a video game where you're expected to like be able to make kind of like dramatic shots like that. So we definitely have to adjust as the NBA adjusted, and we continue to do that because the mid-range game is beautiful, and there's a few guys in the league that are like still very, very successful, from there, DeRozan and Durant and so on and so forth. So like, and we have to find a way to be authentic, but also find balance in a video game. And I think we walk that line really well.
Now, when you look at the last 2 years with the COVID pandemic, obviously we had that players tournament early to try and get some basketball coverage in general. How did the COVID pandemic at all change 2K? Did it have any kind of impact at all, do you think?
I don't know. I'd say that a lot of people that took content creation seriously succeeded a lot, because then they would put out a lot more content, stream a lot. They had an active audience that was waiting there. There were a lot more people playing at like condensed times, because what else were you going to do, right? But I don't think so, because our daily active users are better than they were during that time. Like people are still playing the product. But I do think that there was a lot of like opportunities for both content creators and us to come onto like even more national stage, because all of a sudden you had this gap in physical entertainment, and that's where it was our responsibility to step up in the digital space and do cool things.
Now, some game features, we saw the My Career trailer drop recently. What can we expect out of that? We saw some J. Cole in there. We saw some The Rival in there as well. What can we expect out of the My Career vote?
I mean, people love to play as themselves, and like that storyline is so critical and it's so sought after. Like the experiences that you're gonna have. That trailer was really serious and like loud and dramatic, and it was like, and I feel like that's gonna be much more the tone this year. Like. It kind of harkens back to like the 2K17 one where with MBJ and Orange Juice and all, like it was really dramatic. I think it's going to be a little bit more like that. But I think the big thing is going to be how it interacts with the city, and like you're going to have to continue to like go around and continue to grow the storyline and have like little derivations and quests and. I think it's a great package. The way that we build that now, we learn more and more every year of how we want to build career and city together.
Now, when you look at My Park's been big over the last couple of years. You see a lot of content creators there. What's the biggest thing we'll see out of that mode? Yeah,
I think it depends on how you want to characterize it. I really characterize it as a very, very good thing. A lot of people ask for the city to become smaller. And for you to be able to move around quicker in it. So both of those things have been addressed. Like it is smaller and you can warp from place to place. So it allows for less like buildings where there was like not a lot going on, and we were just having you walk around and for not no reason, but you were definitely absorbed in the atmosphere. That's the real life. But like making that experience smaller keeps people engaged, keeps people like active doing stuff. So I think that's going to be a massive win. Like I think people are really going to enjoy that. And then, all of the good things about the city are still there, and being able to eventize and do like kind of cool things. I think there's a lot of wins with the city, but I'd say the biggest one is scaling it down and kind of removing some of the unnecessary stuff.
Now, we want to talk about My Team. You touched on it earlier. The contract was a big part of My Team. That's now gone. How does that affect My Team? Team creation. And I guess what else has changed in that mode?
I mean, that mode is really like exciting. I think Triple Threat Online co-op is going to be played by a lot, and being able to play 3 guys and do it online, which was not the case last year. That one's big. And then, no contracts, something that you don't have to worry about anymore. It was just a sticking point. So I think that My Team is going to be a lot of fun this year.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I saw something called My Greatest. Is that a thing as well? The part of the Jordan challenges. Is that just What is that mode called? Is that
I don't know.
mode name for that?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Well, you did mention the is it maybe?
You know what's crazy about our game is it's like it blows up more and more every year, where it's like almost impossible to know everything. Like the other day, I found out they were like in the W, we're adding W jerseys in like all over the place in the city. I not that I didn't have any idea, but I was like, oh, that's cool. It's just the scope of our game has become so large. It's kind of, you get really focused on the modes that you like to play. Even me, you know, like even somebody who's representing the brand, like there's things that I really am passionate about with the game that I want to see, like what's the newest here. So I know a lot about those modes, and less so about, you know, like some of the intricacies that I'm not as, you know, interested in. We're trying to serve a greater community that has interest in everything. You know, you ask 5 NBA players what their favorite thing about 2K is, and I swear to God, you get 5 different answers. There's a lot of guys that play my NBA, like they're GMs. They don't even play the real life product. They just simulate seasons as like a GM, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you guys touch on pretty much every fan's kind of wants as a game, so that's been fantastic. You know, 2K ratings have always been a big kind of cultural thing almost at this point, where 2K ratings are released via either a player. I think you have them tweet you and you release them sometimes.
Yep.
You know,
did that this week.
The ones that are too low, obviously they have some frustrations and feelings. How do you go about? How do the ratings go about being made? How are those created?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, it starts with whatever they're doing on the court. So, the funny thing about them getting so upset about it is that they do have so much control over that. And, you know, like, the consternation about the ratings is always funny to me, because then if you put up, like, here's what the top 20 players are rated, and it's in order, you look at that list and you get very little argument. It's always like, oh, yeah, you know, Ja Morant is better than Russell Westbrook at this point in his career, right? Like, duh. And so you won't, but like when you hear the number 90, whatever, 91, you're like, there's a lot of emotions about that. And it's great for us because, like, obviously it compels conversation all the way from the, you know, the best players in the league all the way to the, you know, people playing this game every day, which is I think part of the goal. But yeah, it's a bunch of mini attributes that create a formula to spit out a number. And unlike any competitor, our number is not 99 very often. We've saved that for like legacy like players. The rating system is built over the course of the entire history of the NBA and not just this year. So that's why we have no current 99s. I think the only 99 in the game is 95, 96 Jordan for obvious reasons. So yeah, I think that's it's always funny though. It means so much to these guys.
I think it was 2K14 that LeBron was a 99 overall. I want to say 2K14. Yeah. Do you think we'll get to that with another player soon?
I think so. I mean, there's a couple guys where you're like, wow. I mean, they're putting out numbers. They're so young. You think about like Jason Tatum and Luka obviously, and Ja even. There's guys that like might have that trajectory. They do so much on the court. I think Luka is probably the one that might be the most obvious. If Giannis continues to like take his game to another level, gets more proficient from the 3-point line, right, he's definitely a candidate. So, you know, I think so. But ultimately, you're measured against the history of basketball. So, are we going to have another 95, 96 Jordan? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Now, this game has been pretty focused on scoring. I know defense is important, but scoring is what a lot of people enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And so is it hard to rate guys like a Draymond Green, whose, you know, biggest attributes come on the defensive end? He's not a big scorer. Or Russell Westbrook, who may push the pace, you know, be an energy guy, but doesn't necessarily score as well.
I think we do a pretty good job of that. Now, sure, like, you know, you can make an argument that it's going to skew more on the offensive side because there's more to measure on the offensive side. But I actually think that we equate that stuff pretty well. Like, you see Rudy Gobert's ratings. You see, you know, a lot of the guys that are great defenders. Embiid is another one. And their ratings are kind of fitting there. And I also think that there's people that are very, very good offensive players that aren't as good on defense that get punished for it big time. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember Karl-Anthony Towns a couple years ago. He's become a much better defensive player. But a couple years ago, he was really upset about his rating, and I don't know if he made it a public thing. He's one of my groomsmen, so like him and I are very, very close. But so I don't remember if it was a public spat or just him yelling at me in person. But he said that he was really mad about his. I think he had an 89 or a 91. I don't remember. And I'm like, dude, like, it's all offense. All your ratings that are good are offense, and all your ratings that are not good are defense. So you got your path to get a higher rating. So I think we do punish people if they're not good defensively.
Now I want to talk about some of the covers. Devin Booker was selected as a cover athlete. Why Booker, and what has it been like to work with Booker?
Booker has been great. So he won the ESPN Players Tournament that you mentioned during the pandemic a couple years ago. He's an avid gamer. That's always number one for us. Like, you gotta like the game. Years ago, we used to work with people that didn't play, and I feel like that took away from the authenticity of what the message that we're trying to tell. Booker's not like that. He plays our game religiously. He's very, very good at it. He might be one of the top 3 to 5 players in the NBA at our game. And then the other thing that we look for, well, there's 2 other things we look for. Trajectory, like what is he now, and do we expect him to be on the upward trend? I think there's no doubt that Devin has so much going for him, but he's really just scratched the surface. And I mean, imagine the year he could have in Phoenix, and the subsequent years after that. He's only 25. He's like an old 25. It's really weird,
right?
You know? And then the third thing that we look for is, we have a marketing campaign that we're trying to build, and there's always a select group of players that are in conversation for covers all the time, and we're like, does it match up with the message we're trying to convey this year? And so the message this year was about a different cover athlete, which is MJ, right? Like, we felt really confident about the game we were putting out. We put the greatest of all time on the cover, so we wanted to put the greatest 2K player, at least known, on the cover of I mean, that was part of it for sure.
Right.
But obviously, Devin's got so much going on that's positive, and he means so much to fashion, and you saw his car at the party, and he's become much more than a basketball figure, which is kind of fitting for us,
So Devin who's the best 2K player?
I would say it's not Devin, but I haven't seen Devin against who I think is the best 2K player, but Devin is the recorded best 2K player because he won the ESPN Players Tournament. But there were a couple guys that didn't play in that thing, so
who are the best 2K players?
I think Paul George is the best 2K player I've ever seen. Yeah. Now, I was at a tournament that Paul George lost to Patrick Beverly, who was in that tournament. And obviously, Pat Bev lost in the second or third round. There's a lot of good guys, and you know what's funny? Like, I've seen guys that say they don't play 2K that are in the NBA, and they pick it up so fast because I think that they see the AI and they just get it. It's the same things they see in practice. That's what so separates our sports game from any other sports game, which is you see the plays, like you see the AI, it moves intelligently, like very, very intelligently. Yeah. Other sports games don't do that as well. So I think that it's easy for an NBA player to pick it up and be like, oh yeah, I see that off-ball guy moving there. I see an off-ball screen. Like, this is the play I run, and I get wherever he's going. So he's going to have to step up because of the knowledge that he learns as a real basketball player. But anyway, to answer your question, I think it's Paul George. I would love to see him play Devin, or us to do another ESPN Players Tournament, and for me to just handpick 16 guys who I think are the best. But we'll see. We'll see if that ever happens. How do we settle that? How are we going to settle that?
Gotta do another tournament.
Yeah.
Now, J. Cole was announced as the cover for the Dreamer Edition.
Yes.
So tell me, what made you think about J. Cole? Who gave you the idea, and what's it like to be working with him?
Who gave me the idea was J. Cole. It was 3 years ago. We were at NBA All-Star, and then we would just kind of keep in touch. He always wanted to be a big part of my career, and then my colleague Alfie Brody, who I think you've met, heads up NBA marketing, and I have just talked about it for all 3 years. We're like, how do we get him involved? We love his music. He means so much to basketball. Obviously, he's done a lot in the basketball space. You saw him play in the EuroLeague this year, and he has wanted to, play on NBA teams. I've never seen him play in a celebrity game, but I'd love to see that. I'd love to go face off. I mean, he just means a lot to this world that we live in as well, and he had an interest in it. We thought it was really cool. He's one of the greatest, music talents of our generation. So like, it just made sense for us to collaborate, and that cover art is unbelievable.
I think you also mentioned Katie texted you about it. Did you?
He did. Katie is not as big of a fan of J. Cole's hoop skills. He actually said, I'm a better hooper than him, meaning me, which, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to find that out. But that was pretty funny.
So the next celebrity...
But it's all celebrities have been talking about all week.
Yeah.
But then you probably saw the Kanye thing too, right?
Yeah, he posted the cover.
Kanye posted the cover saying he loves this. Hey, Kanye. Get at me, bro. I mean, look, part of it's manifestation too, right? Like, that's sort of what the Dreamer Edition is, right? Like, you dream it and maybe it can happen. And, like, what he's done for this industry, it just made a lot of sense. And you saw the enthusiasm our players had when we announced it. First, they were all shocked. They were like, wait, we expected it to be an NBA player. We teased it the day before. And everybody's like, oh, it's such and such or such and such. NBA player. And then when it was Jay, everybody's like, wait, what? I don't get it. And then they're like, oh my God, I get it. And then with the momentum flowing, with all of these other big names talking about it, you really understand like our place in culture and what it means for us to put somebody of that magnitude on a cover.
Now, Jordan was also for 2K23, number 23. Kind of makes sense, right?
That wasn't on purpose. No, I'm just kidding. Yes. That was definitely a thought process for sure.
Now, I mean, was LeBron a consideration for that, or is it mostly just a GOAT thing with how legendary Jordan is?
It was a GOAT thing. We wanted to make a statement. It wasn't just about 23. I'm sort of joking about that. Like, it was we saw the game early. We really felt confident that this was the year to bring back Jordan challenges and put Jordan on the cover and make a statement that this is the greatest of all time. So you put the greatest of all time on the cover, and we've had a great long-standing relationship with MJ. He was excited to, get back on that cover. So it was the right time. And then to, these Jordan challenges to establish these 5 other challenges and get to feature Kobe as part of that, and was very cool.
Now, how have your relationships with players changed over the years, evolved? Because you've been with this company now for yours personally.
I don't know. I would assume all positive. I hope it's all positive, unless somebody's mad about a rating. No, I mean, look, I get the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite subjects in the world with people that love it, but it's mutual, right? Like, they get to talk about gaming with me, and the respect is so high in there. And some of my closest friends, I mentioned, Kat's one of my groomsmen for when I get married in a few weeks. Those relationships are built out of years of friendship and like fun times and crazy times and silly times, and I'm lucky that we just have a common passion for something, and we've done it to do like really cool things along the way.
Which player are you closest with, do you think?
It's one of those 4, I would say. Like, the 4 people I invited to my wedding, I guess that's the answer, right? Is PG, Kat, Harrison, Barnes, and Katie. Those are the 4 NBA guys I invited. I purposely set my wedding in the same week as opening week, because I was like, let's not make this a thing where people are like, whoa, Ronnie didn't invite me. Let's just make it about the 4 friends I can invite if they can make it great. Otherwise, it's about getting married. So. And
now everyone knows this.
Yeah, exactly.
You talked about Kat being groomsman. Something I found online recently. I don't know if you saw this. Yeah, Kat on his website for
no, it was my wedding website. We had a feature on all the groomsmen. So I have 6 groomsmen. He's one of them. And my fiance sourced them for what is a fun fact about Ronnie and what's a fun fact about whatever, right? And so Carl's answer to her was that we've been lying to the community for years and that I actually run the 2K service. It's like an inside joke between him and I. And when that happened, I don't know how it got out. So that was funny first, and it's fine, like no big deal. and like that TikTok that went out, Kat saw it and FaceTimed me and was just, he could not even say a word. He was dying of laughter. He thought it was the funniest thing ever. And then he put it up on social, and then, you know, like it had some life. It's just, again, one of those things that, like, if I razz them about ratings, they can razz me about servers. It's a subculture, you know, like, we have this amazing product that has so many extensions that we can all, ultimately we're in the entertainment industry and we're all just having fun. I don't run the servers, though.
To quote Karl-Anthony Towns, I am most excited to give Ronnie away because frankly I'm tired of him and his servers. Fun fact, Ronnie actually does run all the 2K servers. We've lied to the public for years.
Yeah, I love how he's part of the we.
Joint effort here.
Yeah, he has been part of the lie. That thing was so funny. I had such a good time with that.
So at this point, is you run the servers. Anything you post on social media is Ronnie's servers. Ronald's
fix the servers, fix the game, fix the, yeah. I think that, like, at this point it's like I'd say that I hope that 85% of the community doesn't think that I do that. Like, that I'm more involved in the things like J. Cole and who we put on the cover and yada yada yada, who we have at our perform at our party, how our relationships with our talent and players are. That's my job, right? But I guess I will never get away from it.
I mean, I went back to look at some of, like, your old Twitter engagement stuff, and to see, like, you were engaging with a lot of fans about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, when did you stop doing that? When did you realize, like, it's a joke? Did you ever take any of that personally, seriously?
No. Like, look, there are everyone that is accomplishing something that goes from Elon Musk to Steph Curry to anyone, right? Like, they have people in their social media mentions that ask for more. But ultimately, you are engaged. You are, you are an active participant of whatever they're talking about or whatever their product is. So I see it as a good thing, to be so connected to this game that means so much to so many people. I'm just really honestly honored to be in a position to do that, and even if it is about the servers.
A few more. I just want to ask about Steph Curry and the Warriors won their 4th championship. Yep. Was that a surprise to you? Did you think they would make it all the way?
I think I predicted before the season it was going to be them and the Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals.
Interesting. Yeah, the Wolves.
And they almost got there. They were a round away, I think. And then in the Eastern Conference Finals, I had Bucks and Celtics. Mm-hmm. So my final was Warriors Bucks, and the Warriors won. So pretty close. That was before the season. The reason the Warriors thing didn't surprise me is because we're back to a parity league again. I know, like, there's obviously stars and there's power teams, but they're not really that powerful again. Yeah. So, like, last year I felt was, like, so wide open that I was like, when Clay gets healthy, still nobody's figured out how to cover them from distance. I know I didn't see the Memphis thing, like, coming. Like, I thought they were a year or two away. They've arrived. Like, they're scary. But I just don't. I didn't see anybody beating them last year. And I haven't made this. I've got to think about it a little bit, but I don't really see anybody beating them this year either.
That was my next question. Who do you think gets next year?
I don't think so. I mean, Boston's better, and Boston was very good last year, especially second half of the season and in the playoffs. So maybe there's enough there, especially with Brogdon.
Minnesota improved. They got Gobert.
Yeah,
but interesting.
So the
Clippers are healthy.
That guess of Warriors, Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals, that might actually happen this year. I think there's a few teams that took a step back, like Dallas is worse. I think Phoenix, I'm not sure about Phoenix. And then I've never really been a big believer in Milwaukee. Like, Giannis is amazing, but, like, and Drew's great too, and Middleton's fine. But, like, I think they needed the bubble to win a championship. I don't think that team's going to win another championship.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe they could get me wrong, but so I think, I'm not saying the Warriors will definitely win again, but I don't think there's anybody that's a bigger favorite than them, except maybe the Celtics.
Paul George and the Clippers on that radar anywhere?
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, that's a very good call. But I don't think. I think that they're another Western Conference Finals team. I don't think they're better than the Warriors. With Kawhi 95%, I don't think they're better than the Warriors.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Your favorite player that you've ever worked with?
Favorite player I've ever worked with. God, there's so many.
Is it your four groomsmen? Or four people?
I mean, yeah, probably. Like, those guys are definitely up there. Just because, like, we've had some wild times. Yeah, probably those four.
And last one for you. Your favorite team to play as in 2K all time? Any team in history?
It changes every year. Like, and I kind of challenge myself because I do a lot of, like, you know, event tours, and I want to play the same team over and over again. Last year, who was my team last year? The team that I always remember playing a lot, and I still go back and play them because they're one of our historical teams, are the 07-08 Rockets. With Yao, T-Mac, Shane Battier was a glitch in that 2K9 year. Bobby Jackson. Yeah, Rafer was on that team. They had another great point guard. They had, yes. They were too deep at every position. Oh, they had Mutombo too.
Oh, that's right.
So like that team was so much fun to play. His team that could do anything. Oh, and Gerald Green was really good too.
He was on that team too.
Wasn't he on that team? I think he was on that team. So there was just like that team ran so deep. So that's one of the teams that sticks out to me. I remember there was a game I played 2K9 where I had 21 3-pointers by Shane Battier.
Wow. Wow.
He was like a walking cheat. You remember like there's certain players over the course of 2K's history that like stand out as like way better in the game than they were in
2K14 Mario Chalmers.
Yeah,
was unreal.
2K11 J.R. Smith. Greatest player of all time.
6th man of the year, I'm guessing.
Greatest player of all time. It was insane.
Incredible. Well, Ronnie, thank you for this interview. It's great to talk about NBA 2K.
Yeah,
I'm excited to play the game, try it out a bit more, and yeah, we'll see you guys out there.
Yep, go get it. It's out this weekend.